Hey everyone, I'm Majiin and welcome in to World Tour Weekly, your one-stop shop for all competitive flesh and blood news. Today is the day. With the first ever constructed events post Super Slam in the books, we finally have the data we need to see how the meta is changing with the new set. Last week I mentioned that I think Syndra, Florian, Verdance, and KO are going to be the 4 top decks in the new format. So let's take a look at how that prediction panned out in today's Metagame Minute. Taking a look at the Calling Shizuoka breakdown, we see that KO Armed and Dangerous is actually the most represented deck in the room with 44 copies. This is a huge surge in play rate compared to what we saw from the hero pre-Super Slam, and it's pretty obvious that players consider him to be a strong pick into the current field. Florian was right behind him with 42 copies, which isn't that much of a surprise considering how well he's been doing since Germinate got unbanned. Syndra, Gravy Bones, and Verdance are next with 29, 28, and 22 copies respectively. As far as the new heroes are concerned, 7 players brought Pleiades, making her the most popular Super Slam hero at the event. After her were 3 KO Underhanded Cheat, 1 Lyeth, and unfortunately 0 Tough Nut. Obviously, this is the first weekend where the set is legal, so I expect more people to try out the new heroes as time goes on. Looking down near the bottom of the graphic, you'll see poor Arachne slip through the cracks with only 4 copies in the field. We were so close to seeing more Arachne Huntsman than the prior metagame powerhouse. Obviously, he is going to lose some power with the banning of Bonds of Agony, but I feel like this is a little bit excessive. I expect his play rate to stabilize somewhere near the middle of the field as the season goes on. Shifting over to the day 2 conversion rates, you'll see that Syndra and Gravy dominated the field, with 41% of Syndra players and 39% of Gravy players making the cut. The Earth heroes, Dio and Acilio did well, but KO absolutely did not, with only 5 of the original 44 players making it through. It's a little too early to tell if this is because the deck still needs refining or if it doesn't quite have what it takes. I imagine we'll get this question answered pretty quickly after ProQuest startup this weekend. That being said, 1 copy of KO Armed and Dangerous did make it into top 8 of the event, along with 2 Gravy Bones, 1 Florian, 2 Syndra, 1 Rhinar, and 1 Verdance. It definitely surprised me to see a Rhinar in the top 8 of the Calling, but it was doing some pretty disgusting things in the feature matches over the weekend, so maybe we should get used to seeing it. Taking a look at the top 8 for Battle-Hardened Guadalajara, it looks a little bit different with 2 Florian, 2 Verdance, 1 Syndra, 1 Acilio, 1 Riptide, and 1 Victor. 0 copies of Gravy Bones in the top 8 of this one. When zooming out and taking a look at the events, it seems like my predictions for Syndra, Florian, and Verdance were pretty much right on the money. KO isn't putting up the numbers that he needs to in order to be considered a top deck, but Gravy Bones absolutely is. Obviously, we will have to wait a few weeks to see how the metagame shakes out, but I am much higher on the Necromancer than I was before. Alright, now that we got a handle on the meta, let's take a look at how the events went down in today's weekend winners. In Shizuoka, after one of the most exciting finals I have ever seen, Takuya Kojima took Syndra to a first place finish. That wasn't the only event in Shizuoka though. During the Living Legend Battle-Hardened, Nova-chan won the entire thing playing Viserai. The OG Runeblade hasn't seen a lot of buzz in the Living Legend format recently, but now that Deadwood Dirge is unrestricted, I do expect to see a bit more of him. Over at Battle-Hardened Guadalajara, Verdance reigned supreme with my good friend Eric Sneap piloting her to a first place finish. And last but certainly not least, over at the Paris Team CC Battle-Hardened, Tom Simon, Arthur Trahay, and Evan Tanguy took home the trophy playing Syndra, Verdance, and Florian respectively. Congratulations again to all of our weekend winners. Zooming out from the events of the weekend, there is a card that I've been seeing a little bit more of in several different formats. I didn't hear too much buzz about it prior to its release, so I wanted to showcase it in today's Card of the Week. The card of the week for this episode is Overcrowded. It's a pretty unassuming blue 0 cost 1 power 2 defense attack action. While the stat line is pretty bad, it does have an ambush letting you block with it from your arsenal. Not only that, but the card gets +1 power or block for each differently named aura token on the field whenever it attacks or defends. There has been a lot of times in the game's history where this card wouldn't have done all that much, but we are seeing aura tokens more and more. Embodiments of Earth, Rune Chants, Mites, Vigor, Soul Shackles, Spectral Shields, the list goes on and on. As the card pool grows, so will the different amount of aura tokens. And if your hero is already one that continuously makes aura tokens, something like Chain, then this card will almost always have at least +1 power and block. If your opponent makes a different aura token, you could have a blue block 4 or even a block 5. It's not in a ton of deck lists right now, but it is something that I expect to see pop up more and more as time goes on. And that's why it's today's card of the week. Alright, there was a ton of great moments in calling Shizuoka, but I wanted to showcase one in particular. Reiner hasn't gotten a lot of love from the competitive scene for a while now, but not too long ago on World Tour Weekly, I showcased a feature match where the Reiner was able to quad intimidate their opponent and burst them down in one go. In this tournament, Shinya Yamaguchi eventually brought the OG Brute hero to the top 8 of the calling, but before he got there, he had a pretty killer moment on stream. Let's take a look in today's Razor Replay.
It's a pretty big hit, but only if you have the action points to spare. But this is exactly why he has found himself the first copy of Blood Rush Bellows. Sigil of Cycles triggers, loses himself a card, which might be all too important on defense. You better believe that Shinya's got nothing but hits in that hand. Command and Conquer, the exact one he wants to be discarding here because he wants to be keeping all of the Brute cards possible, and the Intimidates keep on rolling. The blocking potential of OO is going away card by card, and the ones found another Blood Rush Bellows along with Show of Strength. You just don't have the resources to go claw and then into an attack, so no, we're going to keep digging. Let's go ahead and find blue cards. And hey, why don't we intimidate even further? Splatter Skull is the card discarded here. And more intimidates keep on coming. Just kind of shrugs as the third card thus far makes its way into the Bannerstone.
Red. One of them is pulping. We could get another draw here.
This is a lot of Blood Rush Bellows we've seen draw reds. No way. Skullhorn is being activated.
Try again.
Here? Draw a card, then discard a random card at the cost of no resources.
Discard the red. Intimidates the last card in OO's hand.
Show of Strength.
A blue.
Discarded
Found a blue.
Here. A blue is found. Mandible Claw is coming in for a whopping 7, and OO has literally no defenses. OO descends down to 10. Pulping is the follow-up here.
Those cards in hand are not actually in hand. They are all intimidated. Don't be fooled.
He should have taken 6 damage there. Down to 4. 7 go again. And are we going to see it, folks? Are we going to see it?
I think it's Xaxes.
And that's it. GG. Taken down by a quad intimidate turn from Reiner Reckless Rampage.
That caster sounds a bit familiar. Plays like that scare me every time I register versions for a tournament. Congratulations again to Shinya for making top 8 of the calling with Reiner. Okay, now with the weekend's events behind us, let's take a look to the future and see what we have coming up. This weekend is the start of the ProQuest Yokohama season, so if you're anything like me, you are keeping a very close eye on the events of this past weekend for some metagame insights. This season is featuring both the Classic Constructed and Living Legend formats, so make sure you get out to your local game store and compete for some pretty cool prizes and an invite to Pro Tour Yokohama. Also this weekend is Battle Hardened Sonoma, Battle Hardened Osaka, and Calling Hamburg. Calling Hamburg will be streamed with some fantastic casters, so make sure you check it out live at youtube.com/@FabTCG. I will be at Battle Hardened Sonoma, so if you see me, come up and say hi. That's all I got for this episode. I'm Majiin. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on World Tour Weekly.